from Patterns for Pirates, and I'm going to talk about some great fabric choices for the new Gala Gown. The Gala Gown can be dressed up quite fancy by your fabric choice. I'm going to share with you some of the fancier choices that I made. One fun option is a sequin. Now you have to make sure it has some stretch. It's usually on a mesh, so you can see very see-through because it's just on a mesh, and it has some slight stretch actually in both ways for this one. A lot of them only have stretch one way, but that's fine for the Gala Gown. So you can see it has quite a bit of stretch, and this one actually has some stretch both ways. It's on a mesh, so see-through. But sequins on a mesh is a really fun way to dress it up. And since it's lined anyways, it's really no problem that it's a little bit see-through. Another fancier option a lot of people wanted to use and did for their little ones was a velvet. The only caution that you have to do with velvet is that velvet has a nap, which means it looks different if you cut it vertical or horizontal. This pattern, if you're doing a floor length gown, the skirt pieces are very, very big. Some of those adult sizes, you really have to cut the skirt cross grain. So that's something that you need to think about if you're trying to do something with a pattern or a nap on that floor length gown. Even the knee length, those skirt pieces are very wide and big. So in our fabric yardage, we flip-flopped them and really puzzled them to get the least yardage. So if you're using something that has a pattern or a nap, so it might look this color this way, and then if you turn it, it looks lighter. I don't know if you can see that, but it looks lighter when I turn it to the side. That means if you cut your different pieces going different ways, the shade is going to look different if you cut the nap differently. So that is something to think about if you're trying to use something with a pattern or something with a nap like stretch velvet, is that you want to cut it all the same way, and it's probably going to take a lot more fabric than what our yardage states, because we use a non-pattern fabric to make sure you can get the most out of your yardage. But it looks fabulous. Another one that works great is a stretch lace. Often stretch laces only have a two-way stretch, which again is fine for the Gala Gown. Some of them you can find have slight stretch both ways. But again, see-through, it'll just be like an overlay. Stretch lace works fabulous for this one. Now we'll go on to our more casual. A great casual one is a nice, thick, stable cotton spandex. I had this one set out to make my daughter one, and I didn't get to it, but this one would have worked fabulous for it. And you still want it to be nice and thick and stable because it's drafted for more stable knits. So you don't want to use anything like a rayon spandex that's slinky and super stretchy, because it's not snug enough for those fabrics. But a nice, thick, stable, high spandex cotton lycra will work great for this. Another one of my absolute favorites is a Ponte. I really love a nylon Ponte. One of my very favorites is the, if you have a Joann's Fabrics local to you, I really like their refined Ponte. It's really nice feeling. I believe it's a nylon Ponte. It's got a lot of spandex. It's nice and thick. It works great. This is just another nylon spandex that I picked up. It works great. It's nice and thick. And of course you can get Ponte that's thinner or thicker. But a nice thick Ponte with a good spandex in it works wonderfully for this. I used Ponte in a lot of my fancier ones and a lot of my casual ones. You know, if you just do a plain Ponte, it's somewhere in between casual and fancy. And then if you add something like lace or sequin or mesh overlay, it all of a sudden transforms to super fancy. Another one that you can do a little bit more casual or fancy depending on the options you try, or if you pair it with a fancier fabric, is like a techno. It's thicker. Techno, scuba, Liverpool, trying to think of anything else similar. These are all thicker, but they're stretchier. So make sure when you line it, you're going to line something with not as much vertical stretch. Now this one doesn't have a ton of vertical stretch. I did grab some pink techno and it was a little too stretchy. It had a lot of vertical stretch, and so my bodice was being weighed down by my skirt. So just keep in mind, if your fabric has a lot of vertical stretch, you're going to want to take some extra steps to stabilize it. Maybe some clear elastic in the side seams and the waist seam to help hold up that heavier skirt. So again, something like this is a techno, or you could do a Liverpool, a techno crepe would work okay. Scuba is another one. These are all really similar. They're more stable, they're thicker, but they still have some stretch. Perfect for the gala gown. The last one that I tried out as a much more casual one, and I actually have not finished this one just yet, is a French terry. So this is a French terry. It's got good stretch horizontally. It's got very little to no stretch vertically, which is perfectly fine for the gala gown. I'm looking forward to finishing this one up. It'll be a really nice casual dress. Perfect for, you know, events where you want to look nicer but not too fancy. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the lining fabric. I suggest lining with something that's a little bit thinner since our main fabric is thicker. Now if you're doing a lace or something like that, and you can line with something thicker since your main fabric is thin. But if you're using a Ponte, scuba, Liverpool, all of these thicker fabrics, my favorite lining fabric is actually a swim knit or an athletic knit. So that's what I have here. This is a swim knit. It's a nylon spandex. But swim and athletic knits are usually thinner. They usually have high spandex, and they have a slinkier feeling, all which I think is great for a lining. You want it thinner. You want it smooth and soft feeling against your skin. The smooth actually helps too. It doesn't get stuck on the main fabric. So your main fabric can move around on your lining, and it won't get kind of like stuck and create like a crease or a fold or anything like that. It's also soft on your own skin, of course. And it's not hot. I live in Texas, so I'm always worried about double layers making me hot. So the nylon fabric is nice and breathable and cool feeling. It's not going to make me super hot wearing the double layer. And the high spandex is really nice for this top as well, because the skirt is a very full skirt. It's heavy, especially if you're doing the floor length. That big, wide floor length skirt can get really heavy depending on your fabrics. And so the high spandex in the bodice is super important so that it doesn't get pulled down by the weight. So my favorite fabric that I lined with was a nylon spandex with a high spandex content, like swim knit. You could even use swim lining. I usually tried to grab one that matched or coordinated cutely. You could also use like a suplex, an athletic knit. Those have mostly all the same qualities where they're smooth faced. They have a lot of spandex. They would work really great. You can also use something like a cotton spandex or just a jersey. It doesn't need a whole lot of stretch because it is drafted for the more stable knits. Now the lining does not have the princess seams, so you do need a little bit of stretch to get that bodice with no seaming stretched. But the lining is also a little bit smaller than the main so that it pulls to the back. If you get anything too stretchy like a modal or a rayon spandex, it's just going to stretch and it's not going to pull your main fabric to the back side. And I'm going to show you a little closer what I'm talking about. So if you can see, this is my main fabric and it rolls to the back about 1/8 of an inch. You really want that because that will keep your lining from peeking out. My pink fabric that I stated earlier that had too much vertical stretch, I lined it with that and my lining kept peeking out because it was so stretchy. Even though the lining was smaller and should pull it to the back, it was just stretching. It was just stretching out. Instead of pulling the main to the back, it was just stretching. And so you don't want your lining to be super stretchy. If it is super stretchy, you want a really high spandex contact like swim or supplex athletic knit. If you pick like a rayon spandex that's super stretchy and doesn't have that good of a recovery, it's just going to stretch out and your lining is going to start peeking out because it's going to continue to stretch. All right. Whew. That was a long one. I hope you guys are excited to make some gala gowns. I can't wait to see your fancy versions. Those are so exciting to see in the group with the Wiggle and Sweetheart and our other dresses. I love seeing, you know, sometimes we see wedding dresses, ball gown dresses, you know, anniversary dates. I can't even remember all the exciting events that I've seen over the years, but I really love seeing those special dresses, and I can't wait to see some specialty ones or everyday ones. I really love the everyday ones that I made myself too. I hope you guys have fun picking out your casual or fancy fabrics to try out the gala gown.